Welcome to the We Win in July podcast, everybody, where real lawyers, Jared and I, break down real cases. Today, we're going to dive into a case that actually shocked a quiet neighborhood, left a family hospitalized, and sparked a courtroom fight with an unexpected villain, their own insurance company. And today, we're going to talk about how we just secured 3 awesome settlements, including one for $750,000 on a really, really sad case we're going to talk about. But let's get into it. Hi, everybody. I'm Tyler. We Win in July, sitting here with my co-host, Jaron, the Snow Canyon Man, Sandberg. Let's talk real cases.
First, I like how you said real lawyers, like legitimate real lawyers, as opposed to there's some great fake lawyers too.
As opposed to like TV lawyers?
Yeah. I mean, we know the GOAT, right? The GOAT is Jim Carrey in Liar Liar.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like Matlock. Isn't Matlock the GOAT?
That's true.
Jim Carrey.
No, Jim Carrey, Liar Liar, the GOAT.
I mean, it's good. That was a good movie. It's an okay movie. I
think it's one of his better Jim Carrey movies, at least for lawyers.
I'm not going to
There's not a lot of lawyer comedies.
We talked about this with the Ryan Reynolds, and all of you know how I feel about Ryan Reynolds. He's not that funny, and his movies aren't that great. Now, he has a couple ones I like. He has a couple movies I like. I'll throw him a bone.
Well, and he's been that probably same actor in all his movies, the one that you like.
Yeah. But that's how I feel about Jim Carrey. And I think you either have to be really silly, really drunk. Their movies and the ability to get new movies speak for themselves. So I'm not like...
Well, there is a funny conspiracy theory.
Ryan Reynolds could reach out and say, hey, Tyler, how many movies have you been in? I'm like, 0. You're right. Yeah. I mean, look.
But there is a joke that... Because there's some of these actors that they're the same in every movie. I mean, and Jim Carrey is one of them. There's a joke that he's the same person. Like that character that he is the same person in all of his movies. Like that... That Ventura does dress up like a green person and is the Grinch and is Liar Liar, and that it's all just somehow there's like all connected.
Yeah, it is, and that's kind of how Ryan is, and I would imagine it. Look, how probably a lot of them are, right? Yeah. That's just their personalities, who they are. It's how they act. That's their comedy. I'm not a big Jim Carrey comedy guy either. I mean, Ace Ventura was funny, and Dumb and Dumber's classic. I don't feel the same about Jim Carrey as I do about Ryan Reynolds, but I don't. Yeah, when I think GOAT TV lawyers, I think.
You think Matlock?
Well, he's like the classic, right?
I mean, it was on television
forever.
When I was a
Still
teenager.
On television.
I think there's a new Matlock.
Andy Griffin, right? I think. Maybe.
I didn't know that. I didn't ever think that was the same.
Yeah, it might not be. I don't know. Google it.
That's old Matlock.
That's how old Matlock.
Well, but I've heard, right? You hear the term lawyers, liars, and then they had Liar Liar.
Right. So obviously in today's day and age and genre, whether you're a millennial, Gen Z... What are all the classifications? Like my socks.
Isn't there
this
beta
is like a millennial
alpha?
sock, right? I can't show my socks. That's millennial socks, not Gen Z. What's today? Like when you show sock.
I don't know which generation does or doesn't, because maybe the new one. I swear I see a lot of colorful long socks
and the white, right?
What
the
are
white tube socks at the gym now?
What do your boys wear? Your boys would be
the white
good
tube
example.
Sock,
it's the tube sock.
And everyone at the gym, right? The white dad shoes and the tube sock. I can't do it. I
go in between.
So. Anyways, millennials, Gen Z, all the stuff, TV lawyers today, Harvey Specter.
Harvey Specter.
I mean, the guy, he's a Harvey Specter. He's a stud, but not a real lawyer.
Not a real lawyer.
No.
Real lawyers today, Tyler and Jaron, real lawyers.
Real lawyers wearing millennial socks. Okay, we're talking about real cases. This is important. And this is an important topic because we see this on the daily. I just met with some clients actually just minutes ago before starting this podcast. And it's what insurance companies do. They fight the delay. They hire doctors to say exactly what they want them to say. And not only do the at-fault insurance carriers do that, but your insurance carrier will do that.
Yeah.
To minimize what they pay out on a claim.
Well, don't you feel like that's a big misconception a lot of clients have is, well, I get that the other side doesn't want to, but my insurance company, I mean, I pay my premiums, right? I mean, they're going to help me out. And they don't realize that, I mean, from day one, when we have a new client, we're telling them not only don't talk to the at-fault party's insurance company, but don't talk to your own insurance company. We will handle both of those communications.
And that's important because for sure the at-fault carrier is trying to minimize what they pay out.
Yeah.
But so is yours. And just like you said, people will tell us, oh, I've been with this carrier for 20 years. I pay my premiums and I've been a good. And, if you're a USAA, for example, you're a member and you get dividends, right? Oh, I've been getting my dividends. I'm a member. They don't care. Whether it's the at-fault carrier, whether it's your carrier, they don't care. And that's what happened in this case that we're going to talk about. Fall of 2022, Southern California, a family of 4 is driving down the road and is T-boned at an intersection late one night. The at-fault driver was drag racing, Fast and Furious style. It could have been, rest in peace, Mr. Walker. No, it wasn't him. Because it's 2022. Paul Walker died years ago.
That Wiz Khalifa song is so sad.
It's sad.
That's
I'm
a
telling
sad
you,
song.
my wife loves. I'm not saying it's a good thing he's no longer here, but she loves Paul Walker. I can't blame her.
I can't either. So drag racing.
So, R.I.P. Paul Walker.
Yep.
Drag racing. 70 miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour zone. So obviously going extremely fast. And the family goes through with the green. And the drag racing runs a red light, T-bones his family. Father, fractured pelvis, concussion. Mother, broken arm, PTSD. 8-year-old daughter, internal bleeding with emergency surgery. An infant son with trauma, and he was discharged just after observation. So, a number of injuries. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, when you're in an accident, it is traumatic.
Yeah.
I haven't told you this, but last night we're sitting at home, and it's around 10 o'clock or so, and our son was supposed to be home. And I got a call from him right around 10 o'clock. And I went to answer and then I hung up, and I think his phone had died, but I tried calling him back like numerous times, went to voicemail, straight to voicemail. At that moment, I'm kind of like...
You're thinking, he's calling to tell me he's going to be late, but I'm calling about curfew.
I thought he was, hey, I'm on my way. Several minutes go by, I keep calling, still the voicemail. Like, his phone must be dead. I'm doing the Find My, right? Is he on his way home or what's going on? So then I finally called her. Hey, I can't get a hold of Thomas. He just tried calling me. Did he try calling you? No. Okay, let's maybe call the girlfriend and find out when he left her house so that we can kind of get a pinpoint.
Yeah.
Because Find My wasn't registering. And we get a hold of the girlfriend. He had left, been gone for a little while. So I'm thinking, okay, any minute he should be home. Then we get a call 10 minutes later from the girlfriend, literally in hysterics. Thomas, he's been in an accident. We're like, is this a joke?
Yeah, not a funny joke for late for curfew.
Right. This is not a joke. He's been in an accident. He's in an ambulance. And of course, we freak out. My wife literally is like hyperventilating, like on the spot. And so we get up and we're just like,
where do we go?
What do we do? Where do we get our
transported?
clothes on? Because it's 10:30 now. And we're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, okay, to the girlfriend, is this a joke? Where are you? What's going on? This is not a joke. And my wife's like, hysterics.
And you're just like, oh, I hop in the car.
Where am I going? And it turns out he was a witness to an accident. So he was on scene,
but not in an
accident.
So this was going to get worse. I was about to say, Tyler, wow.
So I wanted to preface what we're talking about, because what happened in that accident is very similar to what happened in this accident we're talking about. And just for this sweet family, what they went through, and then just at that night on scene, and the trauma of the accident itself, and then getting these injuries and to treatment, and then what they had to deal with later, as I mentioned earlier, they had to fight against an unexpected villain. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how my son's thing relates.
Yeah.
Okay, so little background. So we know this family's been catastrophically injured. Okay, they even arrest the guy. Okay, arrested, reckless endangerment, big deal. The at-fault carrier pays their limits. Of course, they're going to pay their limits. The guy's drag racing. And causes major injuries to this family. So then what this family does, because obviously the limits weren't sufficient for all the injuries they suffered in this car accident, they filed an underinsured motorist claim against their carrier. And we do this all the time, you guys. We do this all the time. So if you're watching this podcast and you're listening to this podcast, if you don't have underinsured motorist coverage, talk to your agent today or find out from your insurance company, do I have underinsured motorist coverage? And what is it? How much do I have?
And underinsured and uninsured, a lot of our clients, we keep seeing this where they'll waive one of them. And it just blows my mind that you would have, and we had one that had like a $500,000 underinsured, but then had waived the uninsured. And what? They're just playing Russian roulette with the other car might have insurance versus
50,
not.
50,
Like
they
may or may not. Like I'll take that bet, and they obviously bet wrong on the
I
case
want to
we're
know
doing.
who talked them into like doing one or the other.
I just don't get it. That blows my mind. And it's happened twice now where we've had clients that waived one or the other in both situations. The odds worked against them because in both cases, we didn't have the one we needed. You're betting on when you don't get good UIM, or U is what we call it, but underinsured or uninsured. You're betting that the other car has great insurance, that you're not going to get hit by the guy that's dumb enough to drag race late at night.
He must have great insurance.
Yeah, he must have great insurance that he would hit me. Like you're betting that the person with the nice insurance policy hits you. You're betting that a commercial vehicle hits you, because if not, you're taking a huge gamble by not having adequate insurance.
It is a big gamble. And this case highlights that, because the at-fault carrier, of course, they'd wash their hands of that. Now, you guys, insurance companies just don't write blank checks. I promise you that. If the policies are big, they will fight it. They will do everything they can to minimize, whether it be through a liability argument or a injuries argument, meaning whether it's pre-existing or just not that bad or whatever it is. But they'll always do that. And that's exactly what happened here. So the unexpected villain that this family had to start fighting against was their own carrier. Because once they made an underinsured motorist claim, their insurance company fought back. And it's crazy what happens, and we do it all the time too, is we'll make a claim on the underinsured carrier, like our own client's carrier, and say, look, the at-fault carrier paid, it wasn't enough, we have coverage, pay.
How many cases do we have right now that the medical bills alone exceed what that at-fault party had in insurance? I mean, all the time.
All the time. And then we make an underinsured motorist claim, and guess what they do? We think you've been adequately compensated.
And we're like, it doesn't even cover their basic medical bill.
What are you talking about? Oh, well, you know what? We just want this claim to go away. We'll offer a nuisance value of $3,000. That still doesn't cover the medical bills.
Or they'll go, we did pay PIP of $3,000.
It's absolutely crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. So in this particular case in Southern California with this family, drag racing at 70 miles an hour in a 25 or 35 mile an hour zone. Imagine being hit by someone going 70 miles an hour and you have the right of way. How are you supposed to avoid that accident?
Yeah, there's no way.
Like what? I mean, slam on your brakes, but even
in the middle of a green
half
light,
a second, maybe. So look, evasive action is obviously recommended if you can do it. And sometimes it saves lives. And it may have saved one or two or all of their lives.
Yeah.
But to suggest, and this is exactly what the insurance company did, that they could have done something differently to not pay a claim, in my opinion, is criminal. And so that's what happened. When this underinsured carrier denied their claim, saying they've been adequately compensated, this family's lawyer filed suit, and good for them to do so.
And these are weird lawsuits because it feels like you're suing yourself because it's your own insurance company's policy, right?
And people ask that all the time, like, wait, I'm in my own insurance company? Yeah, you are, because you have a contract with them.
Yeah. And it gets more fun when it's a passenger that's like a spouse, and we have to include the husband on that lawsuit against themselves.
Well, yeah, sometimes when we go after your own carrier, it is against your spouse. But
yeah, because your spouse is the policy holder.
Or your spouse was negligent.
Yeah.
And caused the accident.
That happens too.
That does happen.
Yeah.
So, but that's a tactic. So they filed this against their own carrier, which is very normal and very common. So don't freak out if that happens. They filed against their own carrier, and through discovery, they had found out that the adjusters were making internal communications with each other and probably their supervisors, right? Because adjusters have a job to do.
We've had this conversation on previous podcasts, but you want to get to the manager, the person that makes those decisions.
And they always say, oh, we're going to round table this. We got to talk to our supervisors and, we're going to see if we can't get additional authority. But what they're trying to do is minimize your claim. Emails were discovered that they were trying to suggest that this family was also speeding and to add comparative fault to minimize the payout.
Almost like they were coming up with their own ideas to put some blame on them.
Exactly. And so in one of the emails, it said, in one of the notes, we might be able to argue contributory fault to limit payout.
And again, this is what's insane is this is your own insurance company. This isn't the at-fault insurance company. This is your own insurance company that's supposed to have your back.
And then another message came in from the same team. Avoid full liability recognition, settle low, or delay. And then because this case started getting some social media traction, and then there were some actually weird arguments and comments like, why is this family suing their own insurance company? Finally, some of that social media presence and pressure got the insurance company to finally settle. And then the settlement actually came in at $1.9 million.
Wow.
So almost $2 million, of which they were trying to not pay out at all.
Now, and my understanding is the 1.95 was above the policy limits.
Correct. So,
because that does happen too, is if your own insurance company acts in bad faith, and this is kind of a hot topic right now with lawyers around the country, but we've even had some big ones close by here in Las Vegas, which is just a 2-hour drive away. We've had these cases where if your own insurance company acts in bad faith, which this case clearly shows, hey, let's come up with an idea to levy blame. And we think this happens internally, but the fact that they wrote it down and did it.
And actually have it is that it should have been a bigger settlement.
At least we
think so. I mean, that is the very essence of bad faith. To purposely delay paying out your own insured.
Avoid full liability recognition when they got hit by someone going 70 miles an hour through an intersection, running a red light.
What are they supposed to do? I mean, how do you dodge a bullet, right?
Yeah.
Not be there. This is wild because this happens all the time. And one of the reasons why I talked about my son's accident last night, he was a witness and it was a bad accident.
Tell him like, hey, do you have my card in your...
We did actually say that. We did.
The joke is that we're ambulance chasers.
And he does have cards in the truck.
I didn't think of it.
I don't know. I mean, come on, Thomas, give me a break. Anyways.
My family always jokes as we drive past accidents. It's like, come on, Dad, you can fling a card like a ninja star? No. They always flop funny. You know, it didn't get it to go, but it hit the guy right in the head as he was getting over the ambulance. I think it maybe cut it. So I hope he didn't see it was me.
Hopefully it fell out of the ambulance. So Thomas was following a young motorcyclist on an e-bike. And he was directly behind him, and they were approaching a red light. And apparently this motorcyclist, Thomas said he was going about 30 miles an hour. This motorcyclist slowed down a little bit, came up to the red light, slowed down a little bit. He felt like he might have looked for maybe a second, and then just started out.
A cyclist would.
Ran the red light.
And then just got hit.
Out of nowhere, truck comes from the opposite direction, runs into him, plows into him. My son witnesses that, sees the motorcyclist fly.
Hangs up on you and calls 911 or something? Or?
I don't think he called 911, but he got out of his truck immediately and went check on the kid. That's kind of cool. I was proud of him for that. The kid was up walking around and
you were like, this is the one exception for being late for curfew.
Honestly, we learned a lot of lessons in our household yesterday. I'll tell you that. But one of the lessons we learned was it's okay to be late on curfew so long as you get home. We want you home. And so don't speed, don't run red lights, don't run traffic signs, wear your seatbelt, wear your helmet if you're on a motorcycle. Apparently this kid had just a bike helmet on. It's a miracle that he wasn't dead, according to my son. A miracle. Wow. But he was up walking around, but still bleeding, and EMTs were... That's what happened when the girlfriend arrived on scene, because they were kind of looking for him too. He hadn't been home, and we were kind of wondering why he wasn't home. When they came up on the scene, all she saw was a bunch of EMTs over what looked like to be a teenager. And so immediately she thought something was wrong with him. And so that was the report back to, he's in the ambulance. How'd you make those noises? Like, wow. So I get, and that's something that, you know, when we represent clients, that's something that hopefully we share with these insurance companies. Then that's the narrative, and that's the picture we're trying to paint or give or show. This is a big deal for people. This is a big deal. And the trauma that they go through and then the injuries thereafter. I mean, I feel like I went through some trauma and he was a witness.
Yeah.
Like he was just a witness. And so it's even crazier when you're battling and fighting against your own carrier, which is what happened to this family down in Southern California.
Well, and isn't it kind of funny? Because I've heard this a couple of times, and Tyler, I'm sure you've heard it even more than me. They'll say something like, Well, but they are, this is our own client, so we're doing them a solid by offering them what looks like a crap sandwich. Like we threw in an extra $3,000, and they say that
all the time.
And I just laugh at how. And again, I thought it before being an injury attorney. You think like, well, I pay my premiums. Of course, my insurance company won't screw me. I get that the other side will. Like everyone, when we tell it, when we're dealing with third party, we get, clients understand that part. Like they get that party is going to maybe and-ha about paying what's fair and that they're going to oppose it. And especially if they've heard a narrative from their client on, some contributory negligence or something. But man, we hear it all the time on our end that, well, not my insurance company, that should be fine.
Unfortunately, you're just a claim number to them, just like you are to the at-fault carrier. Yeah. And so that's a tactic, you guys. And that's why without, really trying to pat our own backs or toot our own horn, I've never understood that one. Toot your own horn.
Let's look that one up. I got to look that one up.
You say that out loud? It can be kind of, I don't know who came up with toot your own horn. All right, this is a family show.
Yeah, I got to be careful about searching these.
But this is why you need a lawyer, not to toot our own horns, because they will try to do everything they can to either one, say you're at fault, you're partially at fault, or you're not that injured. And it's crazy. And just like you said earlier, we think they do it, but to actually have proof and evidence that they do it, toot your own horn.
The phrase is to one's own horn originated in the around 1776, they're saying, refers to bragging or praising one's achievements. It's actually like a trumpet horn. And apparently there was a Warren Adams letters suggested the phrase emerged with the meaning of advocating for self-promotion.
I had something else in my head, but anyways.
Everyone else.
Okay. But the trumpet makes sense.
The trumpet.
Yeah.
It was definitely a cleaner. That was the PG.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, that's what you were thinking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay, good.
1776, trumpet. But, okay.
Sorry.
You need a lawyer. One, say don't toot your own horn. But two, in the event the insurance company tries to apportion or give you a percentage of fault, you fight it.
Yeah.
You fight it, because I don't know what's going to happen in this accident with, that occurred last night. But that's what happened with his family in Southern California. And to Thomas's credit, not only to get out and help this young man that was hit, but he made a statement because he was like, the truck could do nothing to avoid hitting him.
And he witnessed it,
Witnessed it. Because there's going to be probably some arguments that the truck may have been speeding, or maybe the light wasn't red and it was green for him. And apparently too, and I don't, sorry family, if you're listening to this and we're not trying to make it worse for you. That's horrible. Once we knew Thomas was fine, our thoughts were immediately what the family of the kid that was hit, what they're going through, right?
Because that was the call you were thinking had occurred,
or pretty simultaneously.
You'd kind of gone through that thinking that that's what was happening to Thomas.
And if it was actually him being hit, oh my gosh.
Well, and especially because you were thinking he was in what does he drive?
He drives a truck.
You're hoping at least that, hey, he's in a big
He's
chauffeur.
going to be safe, right?
But the parent of the kid that's hit, of course, driving an e-bike.
And we didn't know because the comment we got, he's in the ambulance. And we thought, oh my gosh. But
even a recent case, I mean, we've met with clients on these e-bike cases.
Well, and that's another thing. So let's talk about that. So anyways, just know, if PSA, do not talk to the insurance companies and even your own insurance company. You have to be very careful what you say. If you say, I feel so bad, I could, and it's not your fault at all.
Yeah.
Don't say that stuff. Okay. Because they will take it and run with it.
Yep.
If you try to say anything that you might have been, could have done something differently, they will run with that. And then when you go to make a claim against your own carrier, they're going to use it. And they're going to say that, oh, well, there's an apportionment of fault, or your injuries aren't that bad.
And just like we use the defendant's recorded call that they gave to the insurance company against them, because again, it's a written, it's an oral testimony normally close to the accident. They'll use yours against. I mean, so you have to be careful, and that's why we always recommend at least sitting with us if you are going to do a record call. And lately, we've just been telling them no.
We tell them no.
Most people don't know that they can refuse that.
Yeah. So, tip: if you've been involved in an accident and they're asking for a recorded statement, if it's the at-fault party, absolutely not. If it's your own insurance company, maybe. But we're telling our own clients right now, don't do it. Fill out the application that they're asking, have a lawyer look it over, make sure it's what it needs to say to make sure that benefits start to get paid. But
and don't
recorded statements, just don't do it. So call us and reach out to us if you ever feel like, hey, I just have a question. We're happy to answer those questions. But this type of accident, one with Thomas and the e-bike coming out in front of a truck, and this one with his family, we just settled a case recently for the truck against the e-bike and catastrophic results as a result of the accident. And that's exactly what the insurance company argued, is that, and we represented the bike.
Now, in this case, I'll say the one difference versus what Thomas just went through is, at least with Thomas, there's a witness. In this case, there was no witness.
No witness.
And even the driver never actually saw it until he'd already, in fact, at first he didn't even know that he'd hit someone.
Allegedly. Right. And that's where it gets hard. Yeah, these, with e-bikes and motorcycles, normal road bikes or just bikes, whatever kind of bike you're on, like a pedal bike, they have the same rules of the road that are applied to vehicles. So those same rules apply to bikes and e-bikes and scooters and whatnot. So if you're on the road.
Yeah.
So you have, as a motorist, a duty to yield to oncoming traffic, depending on the scenario, of course, right? But if you're at a stop sign or stoplight and there's right-of-way issues, and you have the duty to yield.
Yeah, we just had a defendant in another case in a deposition that tried to argue that in about a two-way stop, the driver pulls up to an intersection, he has a stop sign. The other lane of travel, the east and west bound, has no stop sign. So it's just a two-way stop, not a four-way stop. He just pulls out without looking, and our client, who's on a motorcycle, runs right into him. He couldn't do anything to avoid it. In this one, we actually have video footage.
Yeah, not just a witness.
There was actually video footage of it, and the defendant driver still blames our client. Just talk about kind of that arrogant narcissist mindset.
And in the deposition, we asked him, so you're alleging that our client was speeding. So if a motorist is speeding, does that eliminate or void your duty to yield?
Yeah.
You could hit them.
For those speeding, they're speeding. Ram them.
Like, that makes perfect sense. The defense lawyer got so upset. It was so good. But yeah.
Just a great moment.
But in this particular case that we represented, this family, no video, no witness, and a catastrophic result. We obviously had to file suit.
And some of this was probably complicated to some extent, that it took the family a long time to finally call a lawyer.
It took a little while because obviously the grief, and I don't want to get too into it on details.
There is some benefit of, if they'd have called us immediately, would have been able to get involved immediately. There might have been some better investigative things we could have still done at the scene of the accident. But by the time we had an expert, which we had an expert within a week or so of, they're there at the scene within signing up this client, we're basically dealing with 6-month-old accident scene. It was several months old, at least.
But we had to hire experts to do one, to get a black box download on the vehicle.
Yeah.
And you do a data download. We hired experts to analyze the bike. We hired experts to analyze the scene. And so, we did all those things.
And then a claim that was denied from day one. They never reached out to the family, the victim's family.
Never.
They never did one thing to the victim's family, and really blamed the victim from the onset
for failure to yield.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did. They hired experts too. And so oftentimes when you get into these cases, you'll have battle of the experts, as we call them.
And they'll fight these cases. Me and Tyler did a jury trial where just for him to be at trial for the 2 days was like $60,000.
One of their expert doctors,
one of them,
they paid him, like just over $60,000
to be there for 2 days. And
State Farm did that.
And it just was interesting that, because not only were they paying the expert just for those 2 days, $60,000, I think we had kind of thought they probably paid just the experts in that case around $100 to $120.
They paid that one expert, more than what they had even offered our clients prior to trial.
That's what I wanted to get to. And that didn't count all the attorney time put on it from their own attorney that had to put on this case, staff costs, and all these other things. If they'd even offered a portion of that case, probably would have settled significantly sooner. But they will spend more money than the case is worth, and then some, rather than pay out on cases. I mean, and what's so funny is it's not like this was a case where, liability was in question. This was a case where someone got rear-ended, right? This was a rear-end collision case that on this trial I'm talking about. And so it just really gets to the heart of how much the extent they will go to not pay out on a claim, even your own insurance company. They'll spend more money fighting you than if they'd have just paid that amount to you.
Exactly. And that's why you have to fight back. And that's why we do what we do, even if it's your own carrier. But even when there's questions of liability or they want to apportion fault or say that you did something wrong, sometimes we litigated that case for quite a while. And there's a lot of factors that determined why we settled the case. And I won't get into them too deeply, but we think it's a good result. And we think it was a good resolution for the family. The cases are hard because we fight for every one of our clients, whether big or small. And we want to make sure that the insurance companies are held accountable. That's really what's key.
Yeah.
And we say insurance companies because when we're sitting in trial next to our client or in mediation next to our client, next door to us, on the table next to us, 5 lawyers, 10 lawyers, representing maybe one individual, those lawyers don't represent the individual. They represent...
We've never had a defendant yet show up to mediation, the actual person who caused the accident.
Not one time.
Not once.
You know who shows up to mediation or arbitrations? The insurance company's lawyer and an adjuster.
And the adjuster, just so you guys know, is the lowest person at the bottom of the totem pole for these insurance companies. They're the bottom. There's no one lower than the insurance adjuster in the hierarchy of these companies.
They're good people.
No, but I'm just saying, like a position of authority. This isn't the CEO making a decision on big cases. This is the newest employee to the company because they're normally not a manager sitting there.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you're right. So that's why you need a lawyer by your side. It's going to fight for you, be passionate for you, and really get the justice you deserve. That's what we do every day. So tune in next week as we talk about more cases. We're going to talk about, there's some high profile cases right now going on through social media. P. Diddy trial started this week. We're going to talk about that. And then the Karen Reed murder trial. We're going to talk about that. And we might throw in some more comments about Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Download. If you like the episode, please like it, subscribe, send it to your friends and family. We thank you for tuning in. Until next time, you guys, where we win in July, we win for you, period.